I caught my stepbrother, the one person I was supposed to trust above all others, standing in the middle of my bedroom holding a ring that wasn't his, planning a life with the woman I had already proposed to. And when I confronted him, he didn't even flinch. Instead, he looked me dead in the eye and told me that she never actually loved me and was just waiting for him to give her a reason to leave. Imagine finding out that your entire relationship was a lie orchestrated by your own flesh and blood. Or at least the person your father told you to treat like a brother. All because he decided that what was mine should be his. Was I wrong for the way I decided to burn his life to the ground after I found out the truth? Or would you have done the exact same thing if you realized the two people you loved most were plotting your downfall behind your back? My name is Elias, and for a long time, I thought I had the perfect life, including a brotherly bond with my stepbrother, Caleb, and a future with my girlfriend, Maya, but looking back, the signs of the war that was about to erupt were everywhere, and I was just too blind to see them. It all started about 3 years ago when my dad married Caleb's mom, and while we were already in our early 20s, my dad was desperate for us to be a real family, so he pushed us together constantly, even helping us start a small tech consulting business together. I was the one with the technical skills and the drive, while Caleb was the charismatic one who could sell ice to an inhabitant of the Arctic. And for a while, it worked perfectly until I introduced him to Maya. Maya was everything, brilliant, kind, and she had this way of making me feel like I was the only person in the room. But the moment Caleb met her at a family dinner, the energy in the room shifted in a way I didn't understand at the time. To make matters even more complicated, our business was actually thriving, and we were suddenly bringing in more money than we ever imagined, which only fueled Caleb's ego and his belief that he could have anything he wanted. I remember the first time I felt a real pang of suspicion. We were celebrating a major contract win, and Caleb insisted on buying Maya a designer handbag as a thank you for her helping with the PR, a gift that was far more intimate and expensive than anything a business partner should give. When I questioned him, he laughed it off, saying I was being insecure and that he just wanted to show appreciation for the family. But the gifts didn't stop, and neither did the late-night texts that Maya claimed were just Caleb asking for advice on how to handle my moods at work. I felt like a stranger in my own home, watching my stepbrother weave himself into the fabric of my relationship. Using our shared company card to fund his charm offensive, he would organize these team-building dinners that were really just excuses to sit next to Maya and whisper in her ear while I was stuck on the phone with clients. And every time I tried to set a boundary, my father would intervene, telling me to stop being so competitive with my brother. The gaslighting was so intense that I started to believe I was the problem, that I was just a cynical person who couldn't handle seeing two people get along so well. I spent hours in the office working double shifts to make sure our clients were happy, while Caleb was out scouting locations for a new office that turned out to be the very same restaurants where he was taking Maya for lunch. I even caught him once looking through my personal laptop, and when I asked what he was doing, he claimed he was just checking a shared file, but I later realized he was looking for the receipt for the engagement ring I had purchased. He wanted to know exactly when I planned to commit, so he could time his move to maximize the damage. The level of premeditation was chilling. He wasn't just falling for her, he was actively hunting my happiness like it was a prize to be won. I remember one specific night when I came home late from the office and found them sitting on the balcony, laughing so hard they didn't hear me walk in, and the look of pure adoration on Caleb's face made my stomach drop into my shoes. When I asked what was so funny, they both jumped, and Maya got this weird, guilty flush on her cheeks before saying it was just an inside joke about a client, but the air felt thick with secrets. I should have listened to my gut then, but instead, I doubled down on my love for her, thinking that once we were married, all this outside noise would fade away. I even started looking at houses, thinking that if we moved away from the city and Caleb's constant presence, we could finally breathe. But every house I liked, Maya would find a reason to hate, likely because Caleb was already telling her about the high-rise penthouse he planned to buy with my money. As the months went on, the tension between Caleb and me grew into a silent Cold War, where we would trade passive-aggressive remarks over the dinner table while our parents watched, oblivious to the fact that their perfect blended family was rotting from the inside out. Caleb began undermining my authority at the firm, telling employees that I was becoming erratic and difficult to work with. all while he played the part of the concerned brother to my father. I decided that the only way to secure my future and move past this weird phase was to propose to Maya. So I spent 3 months' salary on a custom diamond ring and hid it in my desk drawer, waiting for the perfect weekend trip to the coast. However, the day before we were supposed to leave, I came home early because a meeting got canceled, and that's when I heard the voices coming from my bedroom, hushed and intense, and when I pushed the door open, I saw Caleb holding my velvet ring box, showing it to Maya while she stood there with tears in her eyes. Caleb wasn't apologizing. He was telling her that I was too boring for her, that I would never give her the excitement she craved, and that he was the one who truly understood her soul. He told her that he had already talked to a lawyer about splitting our business, and that he was going to take the lion's share of the assets to start a new life with her in another city. He was literally using my own ring to pitch a future that involved stealing my livelihood. The betrayal hit me like a physical blow to the chest, seeing my brother and my future wife standing over the symbol of my commitment to her, discussing how to dismantle my life. So, that is the nightmare I walked into, and I realized in that second that I wasn't just losing a girlfriend. I was being erased from my own life by the person I shared a home with. Before I tell you the absolute carnage that followed and how I made sure they both regretted the day they met me, I want you to pause right now and tell me what you would do. Would you have just walked away and let them have each other? Or would you have stayed to fight for what was yours, even if it meant destroying your family? Comment below, because I really need to know if my next moves were justified or if I went too far. After the initial shock wore off, I didn't scream or throw a punch. Instead, I felt this cold, vibrating calm settle over me as I realized that if they wanted a war, I was going to give them a nuclear winter. I walked into the room, took the ring box out of Caleb's hand, and told Maya to leave the apartment immediately and not to come back until I sent for her things. And surprisingly, she fled without a word, leaving me alone with the man I used to call my brother. Caleb tried to play it off at first, giving me some pathetic speech about how you can't help who you love. But I just laughed and told him that since he wanted the business and the girl, he could have the consequences that came with them. What they didn't know was that because I handled all the technical infrastructure and the finances for our firm, I had access to every single one of Caleb's networking expenses, and I knew for a fact he had been embezzling company funds to pay for his lavish lifestyle and the gifts he was buying for Maya. I didn't just have receipts. I had a digital trail of every single login, every diverted wire transfer, and every client he had tried to poach behind my back. I spent the next 48 hours straight documenting every single cent he had stolen, every forged signature, and every client he had lied to. I also found something even darker: emails where he was actively disparaging me to our biggest investors, trying to convince them to push me out of the company I built. I didn't just go to the police. I went to every single one of those investors and showed them the reality of who they were dealing with, proving that Caleb was a liability who would eventually rob them too. I then sent the entire file to our father, the board of the association we were members of, and the police. The look on my father's face when he realized his charming stepson was a common thief was something I'll never forget, but the justice felt better than any apology could. I even reached out to her employer, not to get her fired, but to ensure they were aware of the potential conflict of interest regarding the company funds Caleb had gifted her. The fallout was spectacular and immediate. My father was heartbroken but couldn't defend Caleb once he saw the financial records, and Caleb's mother ended up leaving my dad because she couldn't handle the shame of what her son had done. Caleb was kicked out of the firm, facing a massive lawsuit and potential jail time. And when he turned to Maya for support, she realized that he didn't actually have any of the money or the exciting life he had promised her. She realized he was just a hollow shell who had used her as a weapon to hurt me. She tried to crawl back to me 2 weeks later, crying about how he had manipulated her and how she made a mistake, claiming she was a victim of his charisma too. But I just handed her the suitcase I had packed and told her that she was now Caleb's problem, not mine. I told her that she chose the excitement over the person who actually respected her, and now she could enjoy the excitement of a legal battle and a ruined reputation. Last I heard, Caleb is working a dead-end job to pay back the settlement money he owes me, and his dreams of being a tech mogul are completely dead. Maya moved across the country to start over because nobody in our circles would even look her in the eye. and she recently reached out again trying to ask for a character reference for a new job, which I promptly ignored. Looking back, I lost my brother, my fiancé, and my family's peace, but I gained the realization that I'm much stronger than I ever thought. And I learned that blood doesn't make you family, loyalty does. I've since rebuilt the business on my own, and it's more successful than ever because I no longer have a parasite draining the accounts. If people are willing to trade your happiness for their own selfish desires, they don't deserve a seat at your table, even if you've known them your whole life. Don't ever let anyone tell you that family means you have to accept being stabbed in the back. Like this video if you think I did the right thing by taking everything away from them. And make sure to subscribe so you don't miss the next time I have to deal with people who think they can play me for a fool. Share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section, because I'm still reading through them to see how you would have handled the betrayal. I'll see you all in the next story.